ATP, what it do with your boy Clay More Rain? Yes, I'm back at you guys with another one. I've been missing for a little bit in action. Had a little bit of surgery, had some work done. So I'm swollen. You see it on my neck. I got a little black marks under my eye. So I have my shades on. But we're healing up great, doing what we gotta do. Um, but I couldn't let this weekend go by and not share some perspective off this boxing space and where we are right now. So, guys, we know going into this Saturday evening, this video is being made on Saturday before these actual fights drop. We've had a little bit of change, right, to the cards. We thought we were going into the weekend to see Keyshawn Davis defend his WBO lightweight title against Edwin De Los Santos. This was going to be a great fight for Keyshawn Davis, his first actual title defense back in his home city of Norfolk, Virginia. And we hit a stump in the road, guys. Keyshawn Davis hit the weight scales yesterday, weighing in at 139.3 pounds. This is 4.3 pounds over the agreed upon weight limit for a lightweight title defense. In turn, penalties such as Keyshawn Davis being stripped of his title, and unfortunately, as Edwin De Los Santos and his team, management, and Samson Linkowitz have discussed it and weighed out their options, decided that it wouldn't be wise for them to go ahead and move forward with the fight against Keyshawn Davis, and in fact have canceled and pulled out of the whole entire fight. So Keyshawn Davis will not be getting paid for the fight. He will not have his title, and basically, one would argue, has suffered somewhat of a setback in his career right now. You know, it's ironic because, well, not ironic, but almost a little bittersweet, knowing that Keyshawn Davis, who also suffered an issue about a year and a half ago, having a fight turned over into a no contest after not passing a marijuana test, lost that fight as far as it becoming a no contest, went from a victory to a no contest, also was suspended. Off the back end of that suspension, was at a crossroads in his career. He had a decision to make for himself as to whether or not he was going to take this boxing game as serious as he should take it, being that he had such a supportive team around him. One of the best teams in boxing, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at Bo Mack, you look at Terrence Crawford, the likes of Andre Ward, Shakur Stevenson, his mother, who seems to be a very supportive parent, his brothers. A big opportunity for Keyshawn Davis. But it would take him taking the game way more serious than he did prior to him failing that marijuana test. Well, it seems like the guidance worked out for him. He bounced back, elevated, took accountability for what he did wrong, got a closer relationship with God, had a child on the way, and decided to take the boxing game a little bit more serious, and had one of the best comeback years last year amongst all fighters who made a comeback last year, the Daniel Dubois, the Joseph Parkers, and the Keyshawn Davises. Big return year for Keyshawn Davis, starting the year off with Jose Pedraza, stopping him, having a great fight of the year candidate against Miguel Madueno, having one of the biggest overcoming of adversities, fighting Gustavo Lemos in his home city, packed out arena. People came out to represent for him, and he showed out. Sisters and mother almost didn't make it to the event because of a car accident, but they did sing the national anthem, and Gustavo Lemos not making his weight, coming in 6+ pounds overweight. Keyshawn Davis conquered all that, rose above the nonsense, and showed that he was chosen for this, and nothing for him, nothing that God has for him, may any man be able to take away from him. Really inspiring story. Then to go into 2025 to get an opportunity to fight against Dennis Berinchyk for a WBO title, where he dominated Dennis Berinchyk as well, and ultimately became the WBO lightweight champion. Jumped into the conversations of the Gervonta Tank Davises, the Shakur Stevenses, the Vasily Lomachenkos. If you wanted undisputed at 135 pounds, you couldn't do it without checking off the box called Keyshawn the Businessman Davis. Changed his whole entire career. And going into this year, getting ready to have his first title defense and being able to bring that title defense back to Norfolk, Virginia with the supports of Michael Vick and Allen Iverson and all other kind of stars that were supporting him. This was going to be a big, huge moment for Keyshawn Davis. But something changed along the line for Keyshawn Davis. Now, being motivated and having that vested interest is something that a lot of these fighters thrive on. These fighters, 9 out of 10 times, coming from very humble situations, complicated family background stories, a lot of struggle, a lot of tribulations. And they use that to give them the drive they need to thrive in a space where it's kill or be killed. Keyshawn Davis had that. Took that with him into his fights last year and showed and proved that he was going to change his situation no matter what. But did things change for Keyshawn Davis as before he became a champion? Conversations of unification and him being undisputed and him being the best fighter in the world were the only things that came out of his mouth. But on the build up to this fight, we heard some things change up with Keyshawn Davis just a little bit. Interviews with Najee from Cigar Talk, Ariel Helwani, Andre Ward. All those interviews combined, as you listen to it, you started hearing Keyshawn Davis speaking a little bit differently. One might say, as he should. He's a grown man now. He has a child. He has other things and priorities that he needs to focus on. Naturally, things will change. But the question is always going to be, when those things change, are you going to lose the things that actually made you the fighter that you were? Some fighters have no problem with that elevating and evolution, and others suffer from King's disease. And it seems like Keyshawn Davis in this particular situation may have allowed his present situation to overwhelm him and lull him into a false sense of security. As Keyshawn Davis not only jumped up on the scale this time around, 4.5 pounds damn near over the weight limit, but if you watch it, looked like he was celebrating it, smiling, flexing, proud of himself, almost as if he did it on purpose. No, Keyshawn, you wouldn't do that. Regardless, Keyshawn Davis says, listen, he's been struggling to make the weight for a while, and that he planned on going to 140 after this fight regardless. He just can't make the weight anymore. He wanted to just go away like that. Well, it did go away just like that, because Edwin De Los Santos' team also pulled out of the fight and ultimately endangered the whole entire event, subsequently compromised the situation that Bob Arum was in, focusing and betting on Keyshawn Davis to be the headline fighter of Top Rank, to be the replacement of a Shakur Stevenson or a Vasily Lomachenko, to be the star of Top Rank, to have Keyshawn Davis move the way he did and look like he did it on purpose. Some people would consider diabolical. So the question is, where does Keyshawn Davis go from here? Has he lost all respect and all trust in the boxing space, and more importantly, from the people around him? Now, in my personal opinion, there's still redemption opportunity for Keyshawn Davis. Clearly because of the talent he brings to the space, but also because he happens to also be a Ring Magazine ambassador, right? He has Turki Al-Sheikh, who has vested interest in his success. So he will get an opportunity to get into another big fight and redeem himself from this situation. Oh, they'll hold it over his head for sure, especially any fighter that wants to fight him. They'll hold it over his head. But money talks, everything else walks. And if Keyshawn Davis is able to deliver and be more consistent than inconsistent, that'll account for what it's supposed to count for. In a perfect world, Keyshawn Davis will walk away from this with his head down in shame. He will take accountability. He will take ownership of the way the situation panned out and audit himself to see where it is that he fell off, got undisciplined, put his guard down, and allowed a situation like this where champions above other regular fighters are held to the highest standards. Keyshawn Davis, in a perfect world, will learn from this and elevate from this. And this will be a huge building block. And maybe even Keyshawn Davis and his team will look back at the situation and say, you know what? The fighter who Keyshawn Davis has become, the man he's become, the legend he's become, he would never have been able to achieve that without going through this setback that he's going through right now. So we'll see how Keyshawn Davis deals with it. There are opportunities there at 140 pounds, which is where I would anticipate that he's going. Clearly, him and Teofimo Lopez and Turkey Al-Sheikh have been in conversations about potentially making a fight. We know that Teofimo currently doesn't have a dance partner, as he's turned away from the Devin Haney fight. Jerron Boots Anderson, him won't be fighting as well. We'll see what he does. Through the grapevine, I hear that Teofimo Lopez has been invited to the next PBC event. So who knows what that could manifest into? Maybe he ends up taking a step back to 135 and competing against Gervonta Tank Davis. Maybe he looks at fighting the winner, between Alberto Puello and Sabril Matias, or maybe he looks at taking on the winners of Gary Antoine Russell and Andy Hirocha, if that fight is still going to happen. Maybe even the winner of a Richard Hitchinson and George Kambosos. Or maybe against a Keyshawn, the businessman, Davis. But Keyshawn's next move has to be his best move. Seems like his only and last hope would be the grace and mercy of Bob Arum, but in my opinion, more importantly, where does Turkey Al-Sheikh find a space to put him in, to give him that opportunity to become the megastar that I feel like he was on the road to become. And clearly he did as well, or maybe he thought he already arrived. Nobody's bigger than the program, Keyshawn. He had to learn the hard way today. But we'll see what he does. On the back end of this, some light at the end of the tunnel. Abdullah Mason gets an opportunity as he gets pushed up to be a main event in this fight. Listen, maybe his stars have aligned just right for Abdullah Mason, right on time, right? Abdullah Mason will be fighting against Nakatilia. This will be a step up in competition for him, and he will also be the main event on this card. The lights will be on him. The focus will be on him. And this is his opportunity to show Bob Arum, I'm not a co-headliner. I'm an actual headliner. And if he's able to do that, right now is an opportune time for him. He's right now number 2 in the WBO ranking. Consequently, not any WBO ranking, but the ranking where Keyshawn Davis had the belt, right? Where there is now a vacated belt. So there's an argument to be made that the winner of this fight will legitimately and logically be in the next fight for a title shot, fighting for a vacant title. Now, Abdullah Mason has an opportunity to capitalize off this, become a champion. And once again, we'll watch another young fighter, prospect, turn contender, become a champion in a very fast time and be in the conversations of a Gervonta Tank Davis, a Shakur Stevenson, right? A Raymond Moratala. He'll be in the conversations of Unify, and Abdullah Mason is not a little lightweight. So his time may also be limited at 135 pounds. His ability to pile up and compound those accolades at 135 will make a big difference in his ability to leverage that and how he enters 140 pounds down the line. So this is a big opportunity for Abdullah Mason, and maybe the stars have aligned for him. Maybe this is exactly how Allah had it completely tailored for him, for it to happen just like this. So we'll get some questions answered about Abdullah Mason this evening to find out exactly who he is who we thought he was. Is he ready? Is he being moved too soon? Will he shrivel underneath the limelight? Or will he step tall and shine over everybody and show everybody that this is where I belong, right in front of everybody, headlining, main eventing. I can move the crowd. I'm what you call must-see boxing. And yesterday's price will not be today's price for Abdullah Mason, right? Great opportunity for him. On top of that, a great undercard that'll be there. We still have Keyshawn Davis's brother, Keon, and Kelvin Davis. I'll be performing on the card. We've got Delonte Tiger Johnson, who'll be performing on the undercard. We've got Troy Isley, who will also be performing on the undercard. So overall, still a great card to look forward to. Would have definitely been a better card with Keyshawn Davis and Edwin De Los Santos headlining it, but hey, we don't make the rules, right? And Keyshawn Davis has a lot to think about. We'll probably see him, or I hope to see him in the building supporting his brothers. And maybe we'll get some comments from Keyshawn Davis later on in the evening, as I'm sure a lot of journalists and reporters will be confronting him and asking him about how he feels about the current space that he's left that event in. And we'll see what he has to share with the boxing space. But until then, guys, listen, you see the comment section, put it in there. What do you think about Keyshawn Davis's move? Have you given up on him? There's no redemption for Keyshawn Davis. Is he a hype train? Or can he grow from this? Is he a young fighter who's just growing and showing his immaturity? Maybe this is exactly what he needed to get himself together, to humble him and put him in position to have the right mindset to go in and face the biggest challenges that he would face in his career at 140 and maybe one day at 147. Maybe we'll look back and say this was all worthwhile, right? And also, will Abdullah Mason step up? Are you guys ready to see Abdullah Mason become the headliner? Is he going to be the headliner, not only in name, right, but also in his right? Is he really a headliner that's been hiding in the backgrounds, opening for main cards, and now becoming co-headliner? Does this change his whole entire price and market value? Does he capitalize on this? Interesting enough, we'll all get those answers by the end of this evening. And we'll probably return right here to talk about it. But let me know what you think in the comments. Once again, guys, if this is your first time seeing the content, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button as well. Let's get this where it needs to be in the algorithm. And until the next one, it's your boy Rain. It's that ACP Combat Media Show. And at this point, we out.